Welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Serpent. Wow, we are getting close to a resistance line for Ripple XRP, and we're about to begin dominating Bitcoin. And once we start to dominate Bitcoin on the daily and the weekly charts, we can really start to see the price ramp up. Now, I mean, let's see. Let's hope that there's no more Elon tweets, or it just seems to be last week was an absolutely crazy week in terms of news, and for the most of it, propaganda really. Like, it's just one person's opinion, but that person just happens to be worth $166 billion with a very very loyal following. And did Tesla dump its Bitcoin? We'll find out in the next quarterly report, but who knows? To be honest, who cares? There's been so much talk of this person and what they're up to and how it's impacted the market. What that reminds me of is that we are so early in crypto. We are so early. I know Bitcoin's been around since 2008, but the fact that an entrepreneur can go out with his 50 million followers on Twitter and impact the market this way just tells me that we're early. We're early, that the market is early. We're still early adopters. And some of you have been around for a very, very long time in this game. But for the majority of the world out there, they don't even know where to begin. They don't even know where to start. They don't even know what it is. Like, if you mention VeChain, Ripple, they look at you like you're talking about a sci-fi movie. So we are early, and I do want to remind you of that, because when I do talk about hold Ripple in 2022, 2023, 2024, there's a very specific reason for that, because mass adoption has not occurred. Far from it. Far from mass adoption happening in the crypto space. So we are extremely early. Extremely early. So let's get right into the news. XRP holders petition to end SEC lawsuit meets the required number of signatures. So there was a set amount of signatures that were required. They needed 30,000 signatures on a petition requesting the SEC drop its lawsuit against Ripple. And they've achieved that. So there's 30,000 signatures now on it. Now, are we going to see over the next couple of weeks the end of this lawsuit? I think we're coming close. I think that we're not too far away. It will probably happen out of nowhere. It will happen at when we least expect it, and there will be some form of settlement agreement which will be made between the SEC and Ripple. So we're getting close, but we're not there yet. And remember that anything and everything can occur. But this article just talks about that and what's been going on there. Now, from a price point of view, and I'll jump on into Atani in a moment and share with you guys some of the signals, some of the indicators out there and what story they're saying. But I really liked what I found here by Azim Aslan that he shared on Twitter. And he shared this particular point that we could be potentially going down to as low as $1.15 before we begin the rise to $2.60. That could happen. We could touch one more time that sort of price range. I did mention that we broke out, and generally breaking out, if it's a fake breakout, it will be retested before it starts again. And what I do want to highlight is this one. So what happened here is, it went down, it went to the lowest, then it went up, then over here, see how it went out, then it retested again. So it can happen. So this one here had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times that it went below this particular support. Whereas over here so far, we haven't even had that yet. So I think we could well be going to that before we come back. So we could see, we've had a couple here, we might have a couple more down there before we start off going and continue and going higher. I like what CryptoToast said. The XRP BTC pair has been very impressive in purple, the SR areas on the weekly chart. And looks like the weekly EMA ribbon is about to flip green, which is the first time since April 2019. So what would it mean? It would mean that XRP would outperform Bitcoin in medium to long term as well. So that is very, 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 very exciting. That is ultimately what it takes for an old coin to rise and to continue to rise really quickly throughout a bull run, is it needs to outperform Bitcoin. So very, very, very exciting to see that indeed. Now, earlier today, I shared a video about how I use Atani and some of the signals that I've got on it and some of the indicators that I've got on it. If you haven't seen that video, do go check it out, because otherwise some of these things may not make sense to you. The Bollinger Bands, the RSI, the MACD, and the moving averages on the 50, the 100, and the 200 are what I use. So if we look over here, this is on the daily chart. If you look at the blue and the orange line, they're about to come together. When they come together and they cross over each other, that's when the rise will begin. Now, on the daily, if we look at XRP versus USDT, we can see that we're not really yet at the bottom of the oversold. So we're kind of sitting in the middle, which would, for me, I would be anticipating that we could be dropping a little bit lower. Now, we could go 127. We might even go a little bit lower than that. We might even be going into the 115s again. And who knows, we might even, I'm not 100% sure on this one, but we could, worst case scenario, we could touch 88 cents before we continue to run. Now, I do want to emphasize that as far as a bull run perspective, we are in a bull run. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. Now, something that I showed you in the previous video as well is how I just turned this into lines rather than turning it into greens and reds candles, because it just gives you like just a little bit better perspective. Now, when I go into the weekly and we look at the moving average has been like the red moving average has been followed perfectly. So we are very much in a bull run. And what this is a correction that is currently occurring. So if we look at the blue and the red on the MACD, they are so far apart. So we are nowhere near. We're just beginning the phase of this particular bull run for XRP. That's on the weekly. Again, if we go on the daily, we can start to paint a particular picture. So we could potentially see ourselves touch 127, potentially 128. Now, if we go on the hourly, we'll have a look over here and we can see what is going on there. So we like on the hourly chart, it's giving us this particular, see how we went out of this. So when we go out, we know that eventually it's going to come back in line. So it's going to come back in here. So if you were clever and you're a day trader, at 136, you would have put a buy order in and you could have ridden that all the way to 145. So just keep in mind to see how here we broke out and then it has to come back in line into this. But again, check out that other video. Otherwise, some of these things will not make sense to you. And of course, I do always try and keep these simple, to the point, and basic. But I know that some of you have been asking about this sort of stuff, which is why I thought I'd mention it to you. Now, I do want to kick off this particular part of the video today to make sure that you guys are aware of what is going on in the long-term perspective. So whether you're a fan of XRP, whether you're not a fan of XRP, and by the way, it's not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor. This is the future of the XRP charts, going to $22 and beyond. So I'm not really sure which side of the fence you sit on. By the way, comment below in the comments, pro or against XRP. But we are going this way. What is happening right now is what is happening in the last 24 hours. But I just want to make sure you're aware that that is exactly where we are going. So the kind of formation that has been built here, like I said, we could be dropping down again into the 120s before we kick off. And even if we were to drop into that, it's part of what is happening at the moment, and where crypto is at the moment from a technicals point of view, and what has happened over the last couple of days. So again, completely normal from a charts point of view, what I'm seeing. And I think once we bounce off that again, and it will be that 123, 128 sort of range, then we will kick off again in a very big way. There was this drawn up as well, and I found this to be quite interesting from a target point of view. We've already dropped below the 141. So I think for me personally, I think 118, 120, 128, they're probably the ones to look for. Could we see 88? Technically, we could. There could be, from a technical perspective, we could go to 88 cents. That could happen if things went bear. but before we jump and continue our run and move forward towards the $3.30 and beyond for the end of May. So a speed bump along the road, hold, make sure you know what you're holding. Now, if you did learn something new today, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. I'm going to leave you with this, because remember that long-term, is the key. Time in the market will always beat timing the market. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.